Hello everybody, and this is just a kind of quick roundup of what's going on with the developer update of May 2019. And right out of the bat, the first discussion is about the recent rumor mill going around about Mech Assault 3 and whether Microsoft will be unveiling this at E3. Russ immediately spins this as people thought PGI were making Mech Assault 3 for some reason. I don't know why he turns it into that. He neither confirms nor denies that Microsoft are making it, and then just goes on to say that, oh, we're making MechWarrior Online and MechWarrior 5, but everyone already knows that's what they're doing. And I don't think anyone ever thought that PGI were making a third game at the same time. That said, he then talks about how apparently they've tried to put MechWarrior Online on the Xbox Game Pass, how they've tried to also bring it over to console. Neither of which have worked. Now, just take that in for a second. They've tried to bring MechWarrior Online over to consoles. My experience with the gaming industry, or at least gaming in general, is that usually trying to bring a game over to console is usually viewed as a dumbing down of the product. Usually because it has to be able to work on a controller, and thus certain aspects of the game's controls have to then cater to this demographic, this player group who don't use a mouse and keyboard, so there aren't as many options available. I find it interesting that that was one of the things that apparently they were discussing with Microsoft. Now, by the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like it went anywhere, but it's interesting to note that that's something that they were obviously trying to build the game around at some point and may still be trying to do so. Russ also mentions that they're talking about license extensions, which, if they had positive news with that, I guess he would have just come out and said, oh, we've got a license extension. You know, we're good till like 2025 or something now, you know. But they've not said anything yet. So it sounds like Microsoft don't want to do a license extension, at least nothing that Russ wants to shout from the rooftops just yet. It's interesting how you can extrapolate a lot of this just from a few sentences, but it's right from the off, it's sounding like, well, it's sounding like they're not sure about what's going on, or even what Microsoft's plan is. So that was the first thing that struck me about this. Now, at the same time, it's interesting to note that if you do Google search Mech Assault 3, you will find numerous posts and articles and a lot of opinion pieces about why there needs to be a third game. Is there a third game coming? Oh, I've heard that it's coming on to the next, at the time, Microsoft Xbox 360 or 720. It gives you an idea that this rumor mill has been going around for a long time, but I do find it interesting that it was apparently something that had to be addressed. So, yeah, with no like definitive info yet. I actually err on the side of NGNG and Russ here that it's probably not going to happen. I don't really expect to see a Mech Assault 3 surprise announcement from Microsoft. So the part after that everyone I think is really waiting for, certainly the part I was waiting for, and I'm glad they got to it early here, was the future of mech packs. Why hasn't there been any new mech pack announcements for the last couple of months? The reason for this is apparently mechs haven't been making a good return for them for about 2 years. So they said that back in the past, a mech pack would basically become profitable in about 3 days of release or announcement. And now they haven't been making that money back in anywhere near as much time. So, for instance, I'm guessing like the Rifleman 2C, which just came out, it still won't make a profit until a year or so down the line now. And that's one of the major problems that they're having. So mech packs are now going to slow down, apparently. They're not going to be as regular as they were, and they're going to be more sparing and more special. Now, some, I think, interpret this as being, we're only going to release mech packs if we're sure we're going to make a profit. So basically, if you want more mech packs, you got to buy more mech packs kind of thing. Like, you know, make it profitable, or we won't make as many as we did. But to be honest, I think we're looking at a scenario, personally, I think we're looking at a scenario where now they're only going to release mechs based on what's popular on things like Twitter and the forums and Reddit and stuff. I think if you can collectively make enough noise about a specific mech that you want to see, they will probably seriously now look into making that mech. And I can understand it's a profit-based business. They want to be able to make sure that they get the biggest return on an investment, so to speak. So if you were one of those people whose favourite mech was the Hermes 2, you're really going to have to try fucking hard to get a lot of people to want to buy the Hermes 2 for them to make a Hermes 2 pack, for instance. So this is the main thing here. Basically, if you thought that they were making too many mech packs, huzzah, they're going to slow down on the number of mech packs that are going to be in the game going forward. Russ blames it on the fact that a lot of people have too many mechs. He erroneously claims that there's more than 1,000 mechs in the game. No, there's not. There's not more than 1,000. Including variants of existing mechs, yes, you have over 1,000 chassis, but there isn't 1,000 in individual mechs, for instance. It's not fucking Pokemon, you know? So, and I think the big problem with that is the customization of the game means you don't need to buy every mech. You only need to buy the mechs that can make the builds that work for you, and some of those, there was a good example of this. The Marauder 3R can basically do the job of most, if not all, Innisphere heavies in MechWarrior Online, and that's it. As long as you got that mech, you can build it however you need to play that role. And I'm sure there's versions of this for the clan side, and there's versions of this for the Innisphere side. In all weight classes, you don't need to buy every single mech pack that's out there. If you buy, for instance, you can make a Hunchback out of a Shadowhawk with 5 extra ton. There's no problem, because the customization allows this. And so once you've got the mechs that you need that work, why do you need to buy the new mech pack? Because the mech packs then just become skins with a bunch of hardpoints attached to them. None of the thing that made that mech unique or powerful in the Battletech setting is there anymore. It's just gone. It's ripped out completely. And that's I think that was a problem they hit a long time ago. I think they hit that issue, and it's unfortunately the PGI's biggest strength is the customization, but it's also their biggest weakness, because it means less people are interested in buying new mech packs because they've already got them. So that's that. I mean, mech packs are now going to be few and far between, apparently. I guess I'm going to guess that we're going to see one maybe every quarter, so every 3 months going forward, and then that'll be it until either MechWarrior Online ports over to a new engine, or I don't know, they quietly shut it down. Who knows? But that's going to be the future going forward now for mech packs. So that was the most important one. That was the big one out of the way there. So let's see what the next part is. So, probably one of the more startling aspects is the admission by Russ that basically MechWarrior Online hasn't been truly profitable in general for a while now, and that it has been profitable and there's been a decline, and that basically the only thing that's keeping the studio going at this point is the development funding for MechWarrior 5. This also means that if MechWarrior 5 fails, MechWarrior Online alone cannot sustain the company. You can find this at around about 25 minutes on the NGNG stream if you want to listen to it yourself. But yeah, Russ basically admits that at the moment, if they weren't making MechWarrior 5, MechWarrior Online would not be turning a profit for them, thus this game would not be running anymore. It would basically just be dead. Yeah, it's not surprising to hear this, with obviously a lot of the stuff you probably found online over the years, the gradual decline in the player base, the generally apathetic approach, I think, towards people buying the most important thing that they need is, being mech packs. They need sales of those to be large. There's not really a lot of extra stuff going on, and it explains all the sales, because there have been sales consistently on MechWarrior Online nearly every week for months now. And I've been playing a few of free-to-play games, and they don't do sales anywhere near as often anywhere near as often. I would love for a game like War Thunder to do more sales more regularly, for instance, and they don't. Because I think that's the sign of a healthy free-to-play title, is that they do a sale for special occasions just to bring in a little extra cash, and it becomes a bit of a tradition. But with MechWarrior Online, currently, if you look at it, you only have to go back a year or so and see that the sales weren't anywhere near as constant, and now nearly every week there's a new one going on. Also, the way events are set up, they're giving away MC constantly, which is supposed to be the thing that you're using to buy camo schemes, paint schemes, decals, and bolt-ons. And a lot of events now are giving you lots and lots of mech credits, which is something else that a lot of these free-to-play games don't usually do. They don't hand over the premium currency quite as easily. So, yeah, I think at the moment PGI are in a kind of a limbo. I don't think they're really sure what's going to happen. MechWarrior 5 needs to be a hit, and I'm not going to say that everyone who listens to this should immediately rush out and buy MechWarrior 5, because hey, it's your choice. If you want to play in a PvP game, MechWarrior 5 isn't going to be that. It's never going to be modded to be that, and it's certainly never going to be updated to be that. It's going to be a single player / co-op game in its entirety, and that's more toward what I prefer. So I'm fine with anyway, but I can understand why a lot of people won't. And there'll also be a lot of people out there who just don't like PGI's approach. I've seen people in the AMA discussions talking about how they don't like the fact that the game is going to play like MechWarrior Online currently does, the more arcadey style. So that's turned a lot of people away. The fact that MechWarrior 5 won't have playable clan mechs from the outset. And I know there's a lot of clan players out there, there's a lot of fans, and MechWarrior 5 isn't going to cater to them, so they won't be able to play as clans or even be able to get those mechs, at least from what we've heard. There doesn't seem to be any kind of admission that these things will be in the game, or there'll even be a way of obtaining them. If they are in the game, I suspect they will be something that you can get rare loot off, but that's about it. So there's numerous reasons why people might not buy MechWarrior 5 at the moment. Coupled this with the fact that there hasn't been any store page for MechWarrior 5 on Steam, which is supposed to be where the game is going to be hosted and sold. There's no page, so there's no advertising for the game. I think these are all issues that are just compounding on one another at this point. And PGI need to advertise this game. They need to get this game out there, and they need to push. But by the sounds of it, do they have a budget for advertising? Because we know, at least based on the film industry and the game industry in general, advertising is incredibly expensive, and may not necessarily pay off for them. So I don't know. I think they're in a really, really, really delicate place at the moment financially, and I don't think they really know what's going to happen in the future. So yeah, it's morbid, but it's sadly the facts. So the next part that comes up is faction play, and obviously discussing the more recent changes to faction play that came in with the more narrative-driven idea around sections of it, and obviously some of the consternation that came about because of the way loyalty works. How for some people you can't stay a loyalist, say, to Clan Wolf or to Razelhag, because there's always these narratives going on, so people have to keep changing their allegiances and stuff. And apparently this is step one. There will be future iterations. They just wanted to get the new matchmaker in and the new narrative system in there, and that they are listening and they want to get back the usual stuff, you know. Considering how long that they've been working on faction play, I wouldn't be surprised to see them get it in line. Yes, there are issues, of course. The fact that even the events currently only last like a couple of days rather than a week. So basically, Russ just affirms and reaffirms their commitment to the mode, and that they are still going to continue working on that as time goes on, basically. But no major updates with regards to what's happening with the future of faction play and how these events are going to shift at the moment. I guess we'll find out more later on. Okay, so a worrying part that comes up, and I really hope they don't do this, is Russ mentions that one idea to keep the game afloat. Now, remember earlier it was talking about how he mentions that, oh, I'm not calling you to action to buy mech packs because we don't really need that because MechWarrior 5 is going to help us. Then he starts talking about a subscription model to keep the game ticking along. Suffice to say, plenty of people in the chat say no. What's your opinion on that? Because I honestly don't think this game has a subscription model in it to keep it going, you know? Right, so the next bit that they go on to is the MechCon and the World Championships. There's a lot in this one. Essentially, we go back to money issues again. The first part talks about how MechCon was very, very expensive and has been consistently since they started them. One revelation is that Catalyst Game Lab and Harebrained Schemes apparently didn't pitch in any money to pay toward costs for this. Now, obviously, this is what Russ is saying. I don't know if that's some kind of jab at them. If Catalyst were to say, well, actually, we did, or whatever, I don't know. That's between the three companies there. But Russ makes out that it's just PGI that shouldered the cost of it. I guess, argumentatively, you could say it's your convention, you pay for it, you invited the guests to bring more people in, is an argument that could be made. But that aside, apparently it's cost a lot of money. Last year they had the pods built, for instance. That was a big up in cost. The other location was costly. Basically, it costs a lot of money, and they weren't sure if they were going to run MechCon this year. Now, he makes it sound like they aren't, and then they say that they are. So apparently they've got the same place booked from last year. That's reserved, at least. Maybe not 100% confirmed booking, but they've got it reserved for them. One of the big changes, though, is that MechWarrior's World Championships will continue, but it won't be on site for the finals this time. It will be off-site. I haven't watched a hell of a lot of esports, so I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I know that a lot of esports are usually held within a location where you can show the team players and you can have the event happening there rather than somewhere else in the world. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing there, but apparently that's one of the big cost-cutting measures that they've done. They're also planning, I think, for another tournament supporter pack. So if you bought the last one and the one before that, then good news, there's another one coming along, and by the sound of it, Russ would be really appreciative of that extra money. And that's kind of it. A little bit of wrap-up, a lot of chat about how much they love BattleTech and how much they love the universe and how they've been here since 1980 something, whatever else. I'm sure many of us have been. It wasn't the kind of developer update I think people were expecting. As far as development, there wasn't a lot. It seemed more like a kind of sharing of the fact that the game is in trouble, that the game is in need of some serious financial injection, that they're going to try their best to run a convention like the last couple of years, but they're doing it now on a shoestring budget when they may have been doing it on a budget previously. MechWarrior 5 needs to be a huge success, basically. It is the overall feeling of it. There were a lot of people in the chat on the Twitch stream. As I said, you can go back, you can go through it yourself, you can see. There were a lot of people who basically just said, well, this is it. It's done. It's dying. It's finally dead, kind of thing. Some people were saying, some people were upset with the direction that it was going. Other people obviously positive, and yeah, there is a lot to be positive about with MechWarrior Online. It's by no means a terrible game. It's how I've always expressed it, is that it's a good game with so much lost potential. Is that it could have been something even better than it is, but through a litany of smaller errors and decisions that drove some people away, angered others, and just created a kind of apathetic feeling around it. People have just, I don't know, they've not invested in the game financially as much anymore, and it shows. It shows with this very developer update. It was an hour long, and if you cut out the 15 minutes at the beginning of them waiting to start the stream and the 10 minutes at the end, it's not even that. It's literally just a kind of state of the company expression, really. So as a roundup, then at the end of this, mech packs are few and far between going forward. They will be special kind of packs that will be based around, I think, popular choice, popular input, what people want, possibly a vote. Faction play is still going to be patched and updated going forward with this new system that they've added. Talk of potentially doing a subscription model for MechWarrior Online to keep it going, but not anytime soon. But definitely something that they're considering. And finally, MechCon cost a lot. They're still going to try and do it in the same place. And the World Championships will continue, but they won't be on site. And that's it. That was the May developer update. That was the future of mech packs and other such updates. What do you guys think? Good, bad, fears confirmed, things you didn't know, some things I didn't know. So yeah, it's not. Don't take this like me dancing on the grave or anything like that. I'm not happy about the scenario. I'm not happy about the setup. I feel bad for anyone whose job might be at risk now, by the sounds of it. Yeah, it was a pretty bleak discussion, to be honest. I've never heard a company be so frank about the situation they're in. But honestly, I can't think of anything how there's a mix of people who kind of want it to happen, of other people who sort of expected it to happen. For me personally, if the con is so expensive, don't do it. Seriously, don't do it. I don't think it's doing much for you. Plus, if that's money that you can use to keep the lights on, I'd do that. Seriously, I don't think the community would mind. I really don't. I think there's enough people out there who like MechWarrior Online that they would be happy to not have a con to watch or go to. I really do. Save that cash and put it into like updating the game, making MechWarrior 5 better, that kind of thing. Do that. If I had to pick anything that I was going to cut from it to save money, it would be the convention at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I guess they're going to plow ahead anyway. So that was that. So thanks for listening, everybody. Hope that helped in some respect. And as I said, if you think I've blown anything out of proportion, whatever, go listen to it yourself. Go over there. I haven't taken anything out of proportion. It is literally what was said, and you can see the chat and you can see the reactions in chat. It was pretty grim. So have a good one all. Bye.